Hello.
Hi Liz. Hi Sarah. Oh, here we go.
Hello.
How are you, Liz? I see you've got your paper and pen there. You're ready to go. Good job.
Yeah.
Very cool.
Sure. Liz already knows you.
And I think Sarah's just, it says she's connecting to audio. Okay. What do you want to do, Matteo? Do you want to give it another minute?
Yeah, let's do another minute. Then we can do a little introduction round for those interested. I think Sarah, I recognize her from the picture. She was at the last on your event, wasn't she, as well?
I think so.
No? I thought on the one we did together, Get Unstuck, because her face is very familiar.
Oh, we'll see.
At least I'm good with faces.
Yes,
Name is words, but
I know.
I have a memory like a peanut. Yeah, it's like a peanut. Like, oh.
All right, let me share the presentation or the screen.
Where are you zooming in from, Liz?
Oh, has that come up as Liz?
Yeah, it says Liz Jeffries.
Yeah, it's Hat. I don't know why it's come on as Liz.
So, do you want me to?
Daughter.
Oh.
That's weird. I don't know why that's happened.
Yeah,
I can rename you if you like.
You change me.
Yeah, Matteo will fix it for you.
Really?
Sarah seems to be having audio problems. It's still saying connecting.
So what name I should give you?
Hat, H-A-T.
H-A-T-T, yeah?
H-A-T, yeah.
One T.
Yeah.
Okay, well, I hope I got it correct. Is it correct?
I'll let you know.
One T.
One T.
I'm from Northern Ireland.
All right.
Oh, cool. Are you, did you come from the Dublin group? The Dublin meetup group?
I just joined the meetup yesterday, actually. And then I saw this and I thought, oh, brilliant. Love it already.
Oh, I thought when I saw your name, I was trying to remember in my peanut-sized memory where it was that I'd seen your name. So yeah, so you're from.
Yeah, it probably was the Dublin. Yeah, brilliant.
Oh, great to meet you.
And where are you based then?
I'm in Toronto, Matteo.
I'm in Munich, Germany.
Oh, brilliant. Oh, brilliant. Brilliant.
Yeah, the beauty of COVID brought us together with Debora.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's Sarah. I was right.
Yes.
I recognize her face.
Hi, everyone.
Hi.
It's
Hello.
early.
It is a little bit, yes.
So glad to be here, though. I'm so excited for this workshop.
They're nice ways to start your day off. I know when I go to them, there's one that I go to, actually, funny enough, that's in Ireland. It's a coaching one, and I have to get up at 4:30 because it starts at 10 their time, which is 5 a.m. for me. But I always feel so great. At 6 a.m., I'm like, done, ready to go. It's like, okay, nobody's sharing my enthusiasm.
By 2 in the afternoon, you're like, I'm done for the day. Going to bed.
Yeah, exactly. You're already tired by then. Well, it's a good time to start. And I think just connect with people internationally, it's also beautiful because it just gives us like Hat from Ireland and you, Sarah, you're also from Toronto?
From Winnipeg.
Winnipeg, was it? Ah, right. Oh, that's Deb's favorite city, I think.
It is. Polo Park Mall. I hung in there a lot of times when I was in the shopping center business.
Yeah.
Oh, I've got family in Sarnia in Ontario.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. Very
Cool.
good.
So I'm thinking, ladies, because I might be that a couple of people still show up later, if we give it a go for everybody's sake and time. So yeah, thank you everybody for joining. Really appreciated that you took time from your early morning, wherever you're based, or late afternoon for me. And really, really interesting to do also these series with Deb. I really enjoyed. We met actually on LinkedIn, I think a year ago, and I was watching her from afar, from, you know, how she was building her audience and the way she's interacting with people. And I really like that because it's very genuine and very authentic. And I think it's very similar to the way I think about life. And yeah, well, year down the road, we are thinking of, well, let's do our first event together, and well, let's see where it brings us. We started doing a podcast a while ago as well. We did a couple episodes, I think, together, and that was very, very lovely. So happy to share with you. But the reason why we're here today, so we will talk about progress versus perfection, and we thought, let's do a mini series of this, so like a quarterly event or like a monthly event, but spread out over couple other events or 2 other events, or well, 3 with this one, and then we moved on to another topic. And I want to keep it very swift, so we will have 2 parts, or maybe 3 parts. The first part will be a little bit of theory and some practice, with, you know, talking about my perception and maybe some science behind perfection and progress. And then we will have also some interactive part with that, which I think is super exciting. I know Sarah already went through it at one time. Jadwiga, I think, didn't. But I think that's very appealing, combining these 2 parts together. So what can you expect today? So we will talk about what is perfection. And I already see has her pen and paper. So I definitely encourage you to make notes. And if you have, you know, if you're like me typing on a laptop, just feel free to do that. I think it's always very good to just connect your, you know, your mind with your hand or with your action, so that you can remember it better. I know everybody says that, but it's really true. So that's why, hence, journaling is very handy. So we will talk about perfection, we will talk about progress, and then we will do the exercise with that. And then I want to talk a little bit about values and the next event. So let me, because it's about 8 past, let me give me about 15-20 minutes. Hopefully it's about that time, and then I give the floor to Deb to take us through an exercise. So have a glass of water, get ready. So first, let's talk a little bit about our story, and then we will get into your story. So I think very interesting for all of us is to share our stories. And one thing that I feel goes very underrated in our lives, we are aware of it because we are in our own skin, in our own shoes, and we move through life every day, you know, month by month, year by year, decade by decade. And then we think like, well, you know, 3 decades gone. So the reason why I believe that story is very important to realize, and why I put here 3, well, random pictures, not random. This is mine in the middle. That's my partner, Hala, and Deb, and on the right side, is because I think when we see ourselves, we also realize that. So definitely encourage you to have some picture of you, because we sometimes don't like to look at ourselves. The picture that I put on the left is also very related to this event, because at that particular year, about 2016-17, I was preparing for a bodybuilding competition, and I actually didn't put here the picture, which should be more relevant, the way I looked before. It's completely different the way I look here on a picture. And the whole goal was basically build the body so I can really compete on a professional level against other competitors. And the whole thing was such a epiphany for me, because it started as a dream that I had for many years, to really making it happen within a year of time, preparing myself for the event, making sure the body has the energy, that I'm eating well, that I have a coach, that I sleep well. And the whole journey was such a, eye-opening experience, because you learn so much about yourself. And what is the best way to learn about yourself, to get to know your body really well? Well, when I finished experience was great. Unfortunately, didn't win the first place, but I realized that knowing your body and understanding that how mind is connected to the body, it's so important to really master that. And this was the time where I kind of went on a self journey and discovery to realize more of this and to find out more about, what do I want to do with my life. The same in the middle, it's my partner Hala. She talks a lot about perfection, and the way she is perfectionistic with her work, with her process, has to check everything of the agenda. Everything has to be done perfectly. And I know, because I know her really well, it's some side of her that she covers her insecurities, and that I have covered my insecurities, the way I pour my energy into make my body look amazing. And I think this is where we can already realize that our story is, very similar, whether that's, whether we compete, whether it's through work, whether that's through something else we try to chase in life. We often do it out of insecurity rather than actually empowerment. So let me just give quick floor to this very beautiful lady on the right, Deb Gemmell, to share a little bit her story about maybe progress versus perfection.
Hi guys. So yeah, I definitely, I actually have a tattoo on my arm that says progress, not perfection. And that is because I am an anxiety sufferer, and I spent probably about the first 40 years of my life letting fear dictate how I showed up and what I did. And I would strive to be perfect because by doing that, it helped me combat the anxiety. So, fear of failure, fear of confrontation, fear of, not being liked or accepted by people that I didn't do. So I was a big people pleaser. So all of it's all tied together. But what I know to be true is that, perfection doesn't exist. It's an illusion. And it's an illusion that I spent most of my life chasing after just because I didn't feel good enough and didn't have the self-belief to do that for myself. And things changed, obviously, as I stand in front of you today, to the point that, I now celebrate progress. I love getting messy. I love just trying things, and if it doesn't work, it's okay. Technology for me, for those of you, is a thing for me. It just keeps sending me lessons, but that's how I view life now. I don't view things that don't go well or great as bad things anymore. I view them now as lessons, and what can I learn from them? Slowing down. So normally the anxiety would hit and I'd be frustrated because it's not perfect. But now I just slow right down and take a breath and go at it and check it out. And I'm proud because I just switched my phone over to a new phone the other day, and I had fixed 4 problems on it by myself, which is unheard of. It made 5 hours, but I did it. And that's the difference between being able to just go with progress and accept that. Accept that we're human beings and we're not perfect and never going to be. That's how I used to live, trying to be perfect. It's way more fun. I like the messy side better. So that's it for me.
Thank you, Deb, for sharing. And this beautifully illustrates also your tattoo, obviously, on your arm, which I found out about a while ago by accident. And I have this saying in life, or this mantra that I try to live by. I call it the way of the turtle. And then Deb one day raised her arm. I'm like, what is on your arm? She's like, well, that's a turtle. And I'm like, why do you have it on the arm? She's like, well, you have to keep progressing. I'm like, this is interesting. This is exactly what I believe in. And I started writing some series on that. And yeah, so beautiful story. Thank you. Now I'm curious, so that although we're gonna share some stuff, I would be curious to hear a couple of your stories. Maybe perhaps why you're here today. What brought you here, and what do you expect to get out of this session? If anybody wants to share, it's obviously not obligatory, but that would be appreciated.
So I'll do it. So who's scared to share? Just put your hand up, own it, be proud. So this is one of those lessons that I talked about, that as soon as you see fear, you can know it's a chance to learn something. So you can either, not always, but you can try sometimes. Say, you know what, this is something that I think I could try to step up to. So who wants to try?
Go ahead.
Just need to keep learning stuff. I think I've got stuck in my ways, and I just need to open my mind more. You know, I'm just stuck in a rut and I need to get out of it. I'm stuck in a comfortable rut and I need to broaden my horizons and not be so worried. I've actually got, it's funny you were saying, Deborah, I've got a daughter who's highly anxious. And this would have been brilliant for her actually, but she probably would have disagreed with me, but like she does. But this would be brilliant for her. I'm taking notes like mad, but she probably wouldn't even read them. But but if I can learn some stuff that would even help her. She's got global anxiety disorder. Has anybody heard of that? Does it ring a bell? Yeah, she's had that since about the age of 3. So that has been very challenging. And she's now 19. And still challenging. But she's good. She's not, it's a worry to watch her being so anxious or whatever, but you know, generally day to day, I mean, there's no drugs, no drinking, no smoking, none of that stuff, you know, but you just watch her and she's so anxious and everything. But so if I give her anything from this as well as myself, that'd be brilliant for me.
Thank you so much for sharing. It's really impressive. Anybody else? There will be, of course, opportunity in the end because we will do an exercise, but I feel kind of Sarah wants to say something, but I might be wrong.
Sure, I'll share a little bit. I've always felt that perfection is something I've always strived for. I've always tried to, I think because it's something that I always thought everybody wanted. We wanted to be a perfect student. I wanted to be a perfect mom. I wanted to be a perfect wife. I wanted to be a perfect friend and an employee. It's in every facet of my life. It's what I always strive for every single day. But I never really realized that when I'm talking about who I am as a person, all my value is set in that. If I don't accomplish something in a time frame that I think I should, I feel like a failure. I feel like I have actually done something wrong. So I'm constantly spinning my wheels emotionally, trying to think about why am I not good enough to achieve that? Why am I not worthy of this? I'm not worthy of that. That's all I focus on. Is like, I am worthy of this, I am worthy of that, but I'm forgetting about that in-between space, the journey part. I'm too distracted, hating myself. And that's been really frustrating over the last 2 years. Like just trying to do a divorce in a healthy way as much as possible, but not feeling like a failure and feeling like there is something on the other side of it. I never feel like I can see something on the other side of it. Never. I just want to be able to have a vision of hope. And I don't know if I've ever had that.
Thanks, Sarah. Yeah, that's very deep, very, very cool. I'm very optimistic though. And, you know, knowing Deb as well and knowing all of us as human beings, I mean, progress is the only way actually, but let us get into the maybe exercise down the road as well with Deb. Okay, I think 3 is the charm, I always say. Anybody else wants to share as well? I don't know if Jadvika want to share or Karen. Again, don't feel pressured. There will be opportunity, or if you don't want to share, it's totally fine, but just can help sometimes. This is actually what I realized a lot. And I was always the least to share my story. I always kind of buried everything inside, but I think there is some power when we share our story because we realize, you know, nobody's going to point the finger and say, oh, you're so bad. You know, I don't struggle with this, because oftentimes we struggle with the same things. I'm just afraid to talk about it and being judged.
I'm Nataya. I've only just joined. I've just kind of missed the first bit.
Hi,
Are you
Kate.
talking about? Hi. Are you talking about the story in terms of how COVID has affected us and how it's affected our life? That kind of stuff.
Can be anything. I put there a couple of examples. Obviously, we were talking in the first part about progress versus perfection, and the first slide that I shared was basically my story in depth, a little bit about, you know, how we went. We actually didn't talk about a pandemic at all, but I put it here just because I know it affected us all very deeply. So feel free to talk about that, or something where you feel, you know, perfection might be challenging for you.
Well, I just wanted to share something, if I may, actually.
Please.
It's not so much a perfection, but when I saw that COVID-19 story thing, what I wanted to share was that I've had a lot of friends sort of approach me at difficult times, because I'm quite spiritual, and turning to me in times of need. So it's really kind of been very therapeutic for me as well, that I've kind of made a difference in someone's life. Just literally, that's why I ended up being late, because I just had a friend in tears on the phone, literally, before I joined you. And for me, it's been good, because I've kind of realized a lot about myself, my own strengths, and learned a lot about my own self-awareness. So I know it's been tough, but it's also been very much of a developmental time for me during COVID, getting to know myself a lot more, as I was saying. Perfection doesn't come into it at all for me. No, I just like, it's about progress that I feel. I feel that I've made progress within myself in terms of my growth. I have a pretty growth mindset anyway, but it's been so lovely in being able to help others at difficult times, which some things I didn't know that I had so much ability to be able to help others. And it's been an amazing time for me, really, you know. So that's all I really wanted to share.
Well, that's good to hear, for sure. I mean, that's why we are here all today, to support one another and to share our, you know, feelings and maybe even our strength with others, because obviously, yeah, that's what I believe in as well. Pandemic actually is a blessing in disguise, but it starts within, and we need to get to that. Awesome. Thank you everybody for sharing. So again, there will be more. I'm very excited about the depth part, because I think that's where we can learn a lot about ourselves. But let us get into the next 10 minutes a little bit into some theory, or maybe some practical ideas that might be useful for all of us. So I really believe, whether you believe in perfection, whether you don't believe in perfection, you should take time to design or define your own perfection. You should define, you know, what is it for you? Is it like it was for me, to crafting, you know, incredible body, and you know, figuring out along the way, which I think is a very important part, which I don't mention here, you know, what is hiding behind that whole traction of perfection. And, you know, maybe you redefine it over time, because I truly believe perfection is a, you know, definition of our ego, the way we think, maybe our insecurities, anxiety. And in the end, when you move on the other side, when you go through the journey, maybe you craft it in a way that for yourself, that you say, well, it's more about excellence. It's more about, you know, improving myself each and every day. But I think first and foremost is important that we accept, hey, I don't want to run away. I really want to accept this. You know, anxiety is here, fear is here. How do I cope with it? And I think first part, when we talk about perfectionism, and you see, you know, a lot of stuff happening here, I believe, you know, when we follow the arrows, it starts with the danger, or kind of perceived danger, understanding your mind, understanding, you know, how the fight or flight mode, your physical makeup, you know, your DNA, and all these things that come maybe when you do a DNA test, when you understand, you know, where you're from, when you go to the doctor, you understand your gut. So very physically or health oriented. But one important part, I think, is that the mind really likes repetition. And when we get into the, you know, same thought, and Einstein said it, you know, insanity is actually the definition of insanity, is doing the same thing all over again. But we are very good at it as human beings. So whether that's, you call it perfectionism or being stubborn or, not wanting any other opinion, you can get yourself very easily into that trap of familiar and a so-called level of comfort, where you basically do the same thing. And that means you're getting the same results. Secretly inside, the calling, the feeling, you're hoping for something different, something bigger, but you're still following the same pattern. And I was just talking about it before our little session here with Deb. I definitely recommend you guys to listen to Dr. Joe Dispenza. I was listening to his podcast this morning, and he was talking actually about this topic by accident, where he talks about how when it starts with the thought and then it goes into the body, and when we do it with enough emotion and enough repetition, whether that's anxiety, panic attacks. I have a good friend actually that suffers from panic attacks, but he's been doing it for the last 20 years and he doesn't know different. And now his body actually programs it automatically. And although, it starts with the mind, it starts with the emotion, you have to watch out with the body, because then, you can really start standing still. So a couple of things, couple of thoughts. One actually summary of all of this is your brain loves repetition. This is what I kind of said. And repeating the same patterns, getting you the same results. It's not a bad thing if you think about, I want to build muscle and I want to do, maybe X amount of squat for amount of time, but even body. And at a time when I was preparing for a competition, it was basically about switching the workouts every couple of weeks, because the body plateaus, you don't burn anymore so much fat. So maybe you eat the same food, maybe you need to, switch it around. And this is very important. And I think somebody here today, I think it was saying, I'm getting kind of into the same pattern, maybe doing the same things. And this is actually not only this is all of us at some point. And this is why we constantly need to stimulate ourselves. This is exactly talking about stimuli. When we think about our calling, when we think about our purpose or why, or, why we here, it's really to go on an adventure. But, through things that happen in our life, through things that, come at our ways, through our childhood, through parenting, or everything that comes at us, we kind of lose the track of this word, adventure. And we start being more, in this corner, the perfection, meaning, seen that, done that. And I think it comes back to the slide that I said before about realization of, what is your definition of perfection? Because if we ask ourselves, and I know I talked to a couple of people about this as well. We did a couple podcasts with Deb and with other coaches where a lot of them or a lot of us say the same thing. It's really not about perfection. We have this ancient built-in mechanism to protect us, to keep us alive, to make sure we don't get in trouble. But, millennials ago, when the tiger jumped out, you just ran away. But now, the dangers are basically, what if I'm not a good parent? What if I don't have the body that I want? What if I, get sick? All these things. But Dr. Joe Dispenza talked about this as well, because once we get into this adventure of seeking for magic and, going in on this magical adventure, which is called life, something magical happens in our body as well, physically. Your body, every time cortisol spikes, so that, every time you feel anxiety or fear, the hormone cortisol spikes to basically mitigate for that. Adrenaline rushes in your limbs. But imagine if this happens constantly, it's not very pleasant for the body, because you're constantly, at the right places, right times, right doses. That's perfect. But when we do it too much, this is where burnout come in. This is where this, disorders come in, because the body tries to cope with it. But on the other hand, when we move towards the adventure, this is when the body secretes, the good proteins, all the things that the magical cocktail, the endorphins, the dopamine, the serotonin, all these things that, make us feel alive and that actually start pushing the body more towards longevity. And I think this is where we need to embrace the, mind and the body together. So just quickly on a, couple of things on this slide. You are a human, I am a human, we are humans. And I know it, just like the little lamp here, for some of us, it doesn't seem that, normal, that, new, but it is actually something very new, because making mistakes, and this is probably very new for some of us here, making mistakes is okay. We know it, but whether we practice it daily, whether we get on the other side of the ladder and say, you know what, if I make a mistake here, it's okay. If I make a mistake here, I will improve. But it starts, with I'm accepting that progress is part of life. And I know, I think some of you already, like, anybody actually thinks that or knows that progress is very good for us. And moving is the way of living, and that is tightly connected to the discipline practice that we go out there each and every day and know that today we are grateful, we are happy for what's happening or what is about to happen, but we know that we are moving, we are not stagnant, we are learning. So here is a little summary in a nutshell, what I believe can help us to really move towards progress from perfection. It starts with the purpose, something that is a lifelong lesson. And I think everybody talks about it in a different way, whether that's, finding your meaning, finding your why, finding your purpose, whatever that is, whether you want to have a lot of money, whether you want to have, beautiful wife or great kids. But in the end of the day, it's really, I think, about the present now, living here and now, like we have this session, being present, enjoying yourself, making sure that you actually really are aware that this is a gift, that we can sit here together, from Ireland to Canada to Germany. Technology connects us all, and we can still experience this magic, which is, like-mindedness or learning new lessons. One of our coaches that I believe has very interesting way of talking about progress versus perfection is really, starting or acting before you're ready. And I think this is the thing that I have been guilty of so much and big part of my life. All the beautiful corporate plans and what if, how I could do it, what if I do that, but I didn't take enough action. And I think this is important, start before you're ready. Write stuff down. This is why you have a pen. Make sure that you already, note that down and like, okay, start before you're ready. When can I implement it? Next time, tomorrow, now, whatever that is. The things that you've been postponing. See yourself beyond the project. You are more than your job, more than your failures. This is a big one. Again, big one for me, because I've been always associating my self-worth to, you saw the example about my body, whether that's a job. I know Deb could talk about it to an extent, because she's definitely a big experience from the corporate world. But see yourself bigger than your failures, I think, and bigger than your mistakes, bigger than, everything that is not going well in your life or is going well. Just see the bigger vision for life, for people that are in your life. And lastly, become part of a community. I think one thing that really improved massively the way I feel about myself, not because of others, but just being around people like Deb, being around people that have a similar mindset and that are moving in a similar direction, because it adds this extra juice to the life, and you really feel like, okay, now I feel really ready to make steps and progress. So a couple more things, and then we will jump into the exercise with Deb. So one thing that I believe, if you are like me and you're like, okay, this looks all great, but where do I start? What is really the first step for me? I think it starts with some fundamental truth. So I have two truths that I believe are very important for us to realize. One thing, when it comes down to perfection, and now you hear actually the birds here in Munich, it's like a little garden. When it comes down to perfection, I would truly believe the first step to move more towards progress is realize that we are average. Although you deliver your best performance, although even if you compete or if you are, whatever, best at your work, it doesn't mean, you're the king of the universe. And you know it, I know it, we all know it. And the thing is, when we accept the fundamental truth that we are an average, we can set ourselves free from basically, all this fear and anxiety, and we can move faster towards our goal, better relationships, whatever that is in our life. And you can start moving, getting better. And that actually, I think this is really important to realize, that once we have this, accept also that human potential is really nearly limitless, because when we constantly go through this cycle of switching stuff around every couple months, and then maybe replanting the the old plants, or moving our picture somewhere else, or challenging ourselves with some new course, we constantly innovating. And when we start getting into this virtuous cycle, as I call it, this is where you start really feeling better, because you start feeling better about yourself. And like maybe Sarah said, going through a divorce or through another thing, you feel like you have those tools to move you towards the better version of you. But it starts really with the fundamental beliefs and about yourself and taking action. Lastly, and I think the happy fella here on the left from Shrek, as actually Debora pinpointed before very nicely, is very happy about himself. And you know why? Because he believes that everything he thinks is malleable. And if I'm today thinking that I'm ugly and that I'm incapable of doing things, it can change in a second. I remember once going through, and I think Sarah was there, through the exercise with Deb about, getting unstuck. And I realized stuff, and I thought, well, I got stuff quite figured out. But, this is exactly the point we want to get to. We never stop. We always learn. We always improve. We always innovate. And taking ownership, embracing the process, and accepting a learner's identity are the keys for us to really start making and moving towards what's really important in life. Happiness, fulfilling relationships, great partner, great job. But even beyond that, what is our mission in life? Where do we want to go? So taking ownership and being happy with yourself, by yourself, I think this is where it starts. So as I promised you, I'm drawing a big heart around learning in action. And I believe that, this is what really might solidify this for you, because obviously I'm giving you, I'm trying to be as practical as I can, but I believe that every time we make something practical, this is when really it cements in our head, in our identity. And if you can bring some emotion into it and say, okay, I really want to, change this. I want to improve that. I want to progress more towards something else. I think this is where things can really shift for you. So with pleasure and really big gratitude, I will give the floor to one and only Deb Gemmell.
Can I just interrupt for a second if you can hear me?
Yes, of course. Go ahead.
I completely lost picture, and I'm trying to get back into the meeting, but it's saying launch meeting, but it won't let me back in. It said the meeting's locked.
You've lost picture?
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, really? Oh, no.
I don't know whether you can see me.
We can see you, yeah. Let me just reshare the screen, maybe just for...
That's good. I can see you now.
Let's see again. Maybe you will see it now.
Yeah.
Do you see the screen?
Yeah, got it.
Awesome.
Thanks.
Well, thanks for the heads up. And sorry. Okay, Deb, I give you the floor.
And yeah, lock the room out of respect for you guys that showed up. And then if people keep coming in late, it's disruptive. So yeah, hopefully they'll come next time. So I think it's funny that you have a rowing picture here. That was great insight, tail into it, a lot of logic in what you're saying, and a lot of practical approaches to it. And the rowing picture is funny because someone yesterday asked me if I wanted to come down and take some rowing lessons with them. I've never rowed. I'm like, you might end up going in circles in the boat if I'm the one doing the rowing. But nonetheless, I wouldn't have done that before. I would have been like, no, I don't know how to do that. I don't know. So welcome to do that. So that's the difference, right? Is being able to step into it. So We're going to, so I am an integrated wellness coach. I think really I became that because I became unwell myself, as I talked earlier about anxiety, horrible food, lots of carbs, lots of sugar, 30-year smoker, overweight, blah, 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 stressed out, stressful jobs, and no tools to navigate. Except for, my people pleasing and fear of failure and, trying to combat anxiety. And, knowing the difference now of what it's like to live, how I lived then is, I frankly sometimes don't know how I managed to do it, to be honest, because it wasn't a lot of fun and it was super stressful, and obviously why my body ended up not being able to cope with all of it anymore. So I'm just gonna, can you pop me over? So we're gonna do some writing exercises, those of you that know me. So this is pure coaching. This is what coaching is. We're here to share information, but coaches really are about asking you high-level, high-performance questions that allow you to take a look at yourself. That purely is what coaching is. So we're gonna go through a series of questions and then we'll ask those of you that are comfortable to share. And again, I encourage you to do so because that is where the growth is. If you're feeling fear to do it, I encourage you to do it. Because every time you do that, you set a new precedent for yourself. So here's the first question. So where do you think you should be perfect or close to perfect anywhere in your life? Where is it that you try to be perfect? Is it at work? Is it in your marriage? Do you try to keep a perfect house clean? Do you try to be the perfect friend? Always saying yes, 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 yes to everybody. So take a couple minutes, write down where you think that shows up for you.
So let me maybe put a timer on for, I don't know, 1.5 minutes.
Yeah, sure. You can just give a wave when you're done too. Karen, are you good? Or are you thinking?
Looks like thinking.
Okay, sorry.
All right, 45 seconds left.
No pressure.
Exactly.
But yeah, if you write the questions down, these are something that you can have more thought about after on your own. And maybe something that you can talk to your daughter about.
All right.
Okay, we're good? Okay, so next question. So what is it that you are believing about yourself that's fueling your need to be perfect? So what is it that you're believing about yourself? So those of you that haven't really been part of coaching experiences before, we go deep because that's where the answers are and that's where we change. So when I'm asking about what are you believing about yourself, so when I was talking earlier about, I believed that I wasn't good enough. I compared my insides to everybody's outsides all the time. They all looked like they had it together, but the funny thing is that one of the things I did to combat my anxiety was I could never let you know how anxious I was. So I had my game face on. So if you asked in the corporate world what people thought of me, they're like, she's calm, she's confident, she's cool. And I wasn't any of those things. I was completely terrified inside. And I got a glimpse into how I projected myself out in the world to cover up my fear, because the corporate world is not a place where you want to be vulnerable. And this lovely guy, Sinatra, who's a friend of mine, 6'4" football player, came to a meeting And he told me after that he was terrified of me. So there was me, 5'4", 6'5" football player admits to me later that he was absolutely terrified of me. So that was like, we laugh about it now, but that was, that was my game face. And, and for him too, it didn't matter what body he was in, he was just a human being beside all of that too. So that was the stuff I believed about myself that drove me to be perfect. So what are the things that you believe about you?
Can you hear me now? Oh, excuse me. Finally, I had a problem with my sound. So
All right.
I wasn't thinking before. I was trying to figure out the sound. I don't know if it's too late to go back a step. I was going to say, Deborah, like what if you don't know the answer to where are you trying to be perfect?
So then that's okay. You can just do some work on it after, and like we've talked about, you can just observe. Just start observing and paying attention to it. Because yeah, if you haven't done this before, you don't have that lens on in your life, but now you will. Because if nothing else, you'll leave this workshop with a new insight, and that's what coaching is all about, is giving people insights. That's how we change. So now you have a new lens to look at it, and your audio was teaching you a lesson right there because it wouldn't work perfectly. So it doesn't have to be big things. It can be something as tiny as, your audio wouldn't work. Wasn't perfect. We have no control. Does that help?
Yeah.
Okay.
Right. So let's a couple more seconds, and then we move to the third question. So I'm just gonna click through.
So this one is really a gut check. So it's not a long answer. It's literally, how long has it been like that? I can tell you that it was, 40 years. I see pictures of me when I was a little kid at my friend's birthday party. We were probably about 5. I grew up on a street where there were tons of kids. And there's, I think, 8 of us girls. And, everybody, we're 5 years old. There's balloons and cake and everybody's like, ah! And then there's me, and I'm literally standing like a soldier. My feet and my legs are like perfectly together, and my arms are perfectly together in the middle of, ah! And I look at that picture now and I realize that even at that age of 5, I already had anxiety and didn't know. So it's really taking a look at, how long it has been there. And one of the ways you can try to do that is to look at how often fear stops you. How often are you afraid of something and so you don't do it? Okay, so we'll jump to the next one. So this is where you start to realize the impact. And again, like I said, coaching is all about insights, because that's how we start to change. It takes one insight to change our life. So what is the impact of this for you? So what is it impacting your health? Where is it impacting your relationships? Like maybe you say yes to everybody when you don't want to, so then you get resentful, but you go do it anyways because you're afraid to say no to them. You're afraid they won't like you. Where in your career at work, do you not ask for the promotion? Do you not ask for the raise? Do you not take your vacation time? Do you overextend your working hours to try to do a perfect job? And then your happiness. Where is it making you unhappy? I certainly wasn't happy. Now I know. I mean, I probably would have told you I was because I had that great game face on, but now I know what it is, and it was not that. And it's much better here. Took some work to get here, no question about it, but definitely worth it. And health would be, if you're not happy with your body shape, If you're not happy with, the food choices you make, but you struggle to make better choices, you say, today, I'm not going to eat that anymore. And then 6 hours later, you are.
What I really like about it is that it offers like a different parts and different view in different parts of life. I think this is really cool because then, at least with myself, I realize, career and all these things in my life were a big part. But just when you think about, like the point that I made before, you're bigger than, your problems, your failures. And this is exactly the answer. Your health, your relationships, your career, your happiness, your business, whatever it is, but your finances. And I think it's so important to realize we are more than that. We're more than one, failure. And oftentimes when the failure is in front of us, when the mistake is in front of us, everything gets, blurred and we don't see anymore, that it's maybe just a little thing or a little spike that you have in your leg, and all the attention goes in there. So very cool.
Yeah. The thing about being perfect is we make great employees, because my employers love me, right? I always got amazing job reviews. Well, that's where I got my self-esteem from. So it was a serious gain for me that I did that because that's where I got most of my self-esteem. But employers love me because I did everything, went the extent, overextended myself, never said no, blah, blah, blah.
Funny, I did that too. And I would work extra hours to make everything absolutely perfect. I remember another member of staff said to me that I was being completely unfair and unreasonable to the rest of the staff because it reflected on them. And when I left my position, the person that comes in to fill my position is not going to behave the same way as me. And I literally probably overnight stopped doing it. It's like somebody flagging it up. And I just thought, why am I doing it? You know what I mean? But it took just somebody telling me that, and I thought it was so true, really.
Yeah, I had a similar situation in one of my jobs where the president's assistant worked like crazy work hours, 8 in the morning till 7, 8, 9 o'clock at night. But by that point, I was getting a lot healthier and I was doing 9 to 5. I did my job and, I left and I had a life outside of it. She tried to get a movement going in the office because she was complaining about her being the only one late at night. So she tried to get a movement going to get everybody else to have to work longer hours. And all of us were like, no chance, not happening. And so what that did was it flipped her where she started coming in at 8 and leaving at 4. I said, I've learned this lesson. I am not going back to that.
It really is a self-esteem thing, really, where you sort of, and whether it's you've got nothing else going on in your own life that's comforting you, being organised and thriving at work is a sort of comfort.
Yeah, I could see her anxiety and her, that's why she had, people call it a work ethic, right? Yeah. But it wasn't that. I just love that, when nobody would listen to her. Plus, it was a not-for-profit, so we weren't making great money at all. Yeah, it was great to see that she actually flipped it and started doing the same thing as everybody else. So let's go to the next one. So really what I wanted to just give you guys, and thanks Hat for starting us off. So who wants to kind of go through, pick one of the things that you put down that you struggle to be perfect with and kind of walk us through, and Mateo and I can support you.
Yeah, it's always very, very personal. And I think, again, don't feel forced to share, but in my opinion, I know I shared it last time and I think Sarah was there as well. where I've seen in my life, for example, just work and the whole topic that we just did for the last 5 minutes. I think this is where my perfectionism came from, and definitely anxiety. And when you feel, and I think it's very slippery slope indeed, because when you feel rewarded and when you feel that your employer just sees that, and a lot of people also, when we realize that on the other hand, don't have the work ethic maybe to put in those hours. But we have to, I think, realize as well, it's always a balance between, taking care of yourself. And this is where I remember I was juggling a lot of things. That was preparing for the competition. I was trying to read 100 books in that year, and I was sick so often. And then even I had a discussion with my HR, and they said, "What's wrong with you?" And I was actually the one that was working the longest hours, and it's so important to really, take a step back and do this type of exercise, these questions when we go through and we realize, okay, where am I at? Where do I go? And this is what I went through in that time. For me, I didn't go through these particular questions, but I had my journal, and I used to, every morning, couple pages, or not even that, couple words. Then it turned into pages down the road, but it opened up a lot of stuff. A lot of time was the same, but it helped me to get a view into, together with other perspective, like headset, other people that come in and pitch in and say, hey, maybe what you're doing here is not so effective. And I think when we are open to that, we can change as well. So for me, that was a big eye opener. And since then, I don't think I started working less hours, but I switched the way I think about it. And I definitely take way more of myself. I exercise more, I eat healthy, I sleep better, longer, and take enough breaks. And then you can work, even 10, 12 hours or more. But then, you do the foundation because you know why you do it. You have the bigger why. And I think that's the important part. So that's just to kick it started.
Yeah, so who's going to share? I know it feels scary, but like I said, it's a chance for you to change, and just pick something lighter that's not so intense.
Well, I think I'm going to butt in again. I think I worry about impacting on other people. I hate being late. I hate being messy. I hate the house being messy. I hate the washing piling up. I hate the dishwashing up. Everything's got to be done. And I don't really relax until it is. And then I will relax. Like there could be something great going on in the village or whatever. If I've got stuff to do at home, that's my priority. Do you know what I mean? Not enjoying myself is not, it's never a priority. Me doing stuff that I've got to do or think I've got to do that is not, so I'm not impacting on anyone else. Do you know what I mean? Is my priority. And like, I'm never late. I'd run round after everyone. I never, but I'm trying to put myself first. Now the kids are older and this, that and the other, but it's not comfortable.
Yeah.
So I try not to impact, but.
Why do you think you do that?
I think my family would have been all high achievers. They are high achievers. I'm nothing like that. You know what I mean? And when I was at school, I would have been the one that was rigid in the playground. I wouldn't be relaxed enough to have had fun, basically. I would have been anxious as well, and I wouldn't have been that relaxed to join in. My sister, I've got a twin, she was very popular. You know what I mean? So I think I've always been, I'm preoccupied with something. I don't know what it is really. You know what I mean? Not relaxed is what it is, basically. Not relaxed enough.
So I'll leave you with this. So there's something you're believing about yourself. So you're trying to overcompensate. So I'll give you a hint. You're trying to overcompensate. So take a look at what it is you're believing about yourself. That you're here and you think if you do all these things, then you're level.
Yeah.
Pretty common. It's pretty common with people. And how long has it been like that, Pat?
Oh, for years.
Like me, decades.
Since I was that age.
I checked the decades box.
Pat, I just wanted to just chime in with that too, because something the way you said, the rest of my family are high achievers and I'm just not like that. Something about the way you said that resonated with me. I'm the high achiever in my family and the rest of my family is different than I am. So I see I see the flip side and the burden and the expectation that puts on a person is, I am expected to always have it all together and know everything and do everything right. And the guilt when I don't is crushing. I will just sit and binge eat a bag of chips and impulse buy shit I don't need because of guilt, because I'm supposed to be the high achiever. But I think something with the way my family dynamics has changed, and I think I'm going to start to speak into my life more intentionally when I think someone has projected emotions from 40 years ago onto me, that I'm just going to say to myself now, my mantra is, I'm not going to let you speak blah into my life. Thank you for that, but I know that, and I think I'm going to have to self-talk it to myself too, because I'm the same way. I'm expected to have my house clean all the time. I'm supposed to have time for all my friends, and we just can't do it all. So if I tell myself the rest of my family is high achieving and I'm not, when in fact what I should tell myself is, I may be the high achiever in my family, but I'm going to let all of that other stuff go, and I'm going to embrace joy today because I value joy. My values may not align with the rest of my family, or the rest of my family's values may not align with me, but I think somewhere we need to, that claiming ownership, these are my emotions, these were my brother's emotions, these were my mom's emotions. I'm going to claim ownership of whatever emotion I'm in the moment. If I want to go hang out with my friends at the pool and I've got 4 baskets of laundry that need to be put away, I don't give a flying whatever. Today, I'm going to embrace joy and forgive myself for not being that high achiever that my family expected me to be. Today, I'm not going to identify as that and be okay with it. Like every day, I think I need to do one of these little exercises where I can say, I value this today. I am going to appreciate this moment today, and then I will worry about the rest tomorrow. I think I literally have to put a card in my wallet and put those words in my head for me, because my head's not going to do it without me doing it. So I'm going to talk to myself. That might help.
It will help because it's actually your head that's causing the problem. So I always say to people, and Karen's heard me say this, it's not who you are, it's who you think you are.
Yeah.
It's thinking that is the problem. You know, I lived with that little box on my head that filtered everything because I didn't believe I was good enough. So that little filter that everything I said, did, acted, how I showed up, had to go through that filter because somehow, I don't know, it knew. I don't know why I thought it knew, but it did. And it would decide what was appropriate and not appropriate for me to do or say. And a lot of the times it just told me not to say anything. So I didn't speak up. I didn't show up.
I think it's funny from an early age.
Sorry, Head?
I think it's funny from an early age that you realise how shallow other people are, even from playground age. You realise how shallow they are and how you've got to sort of behave a certain way to fit in, and that's supposed to be natural, and it's not natural. People aren't very accepting of other people that, you know, maybe are anxious or feel awkward in a crowd, don't like noise, don't like chaos, which I don't like chaos particularly, but and I like to have everything as perfect as I can, as orderly as I can, and that doesn't wreck my head. Do you know what I mean? So it goes hand in hand, but baby steps. I am trying.
It's super funny because I feel like between you two, between you, Head, and Sarah, exactly. Like I was on both sides, and with Sarah, I remember for sharing actually this story exactly. I feel as well in my family that I'm the only odd bird and now, you know, a lot of people, or my parents say, hey, you should do this. Then I do that. And when I accomplish that, they are like, oh, great. Oh, maybe you could do that. And, you know, it can be small things, can be big things. And it seems like, you know, you're never too perfect. And eventually, and I was always trying to follow on that. But then eventually I thought, I cannot live up to those expectations. And even if I achieved it, it came out, well, you have too much money. Don't focus on too much money. And I'm like, what do you guys want? Do you like, this doesn't make sense. And then some people in your family, we all know it, live completely different life. And you think like, you know, how did I turn out to be so different? And well, special, I don't know, whatever that is, but I definitely can recognize most of you, like the order, and it's just, yeah, interesting. So interesting how we are,
Yeah.
you know, so
Somewhere
similar.
in our childhood conditioning, we decided that someone else is the expert on our life, our emotions, our personality. Someone else is the expert, not us. I'd like to go back to that child and tell them, no, what you decide, you can trust yourself. What you choose is fine. And if you chose wrong, it's okay. You can change your mind and choose something else. I found that burden, I think, like being the high achiever in the family, I had to make the right decision first. I could never make a mistake because it would have been devastating to everybody else around me to all of a sudden realize that I wasn't perfect. I had to be perfect because they saw me as perfect. Weird.
Yeah. Yeah, it's 100% true. So really, like I said, it's just all about getting that insight, and you will leave here today and you will start to have a different look on things. And it's, you know, integrative wellness is all about small, tiny steps. Just doing one tiny little thing. Maybe you leave a fork and a knife in the sink for 3 hours. You know, just tiny little things. You know, I had to learn to get messy. I was also like you, never late, always perfectly on time or whatever. And then one of my things when I was training to be a health coach was they said, start to get messy, get comfortable being messy. So I started showing up to work 5 minutes late, which was like huge for me. I'd be walking and I'd be freaking out, or I'm going to get in trouble, they're going to be mad at me, but nobody cared. I walked in, nobody said a thing. And then it's like, oh my God, how many years have I been stressed about that? So just pick one tiny little thing.
That's a good point.
Yeah. Yeah.
I made plenty of notes on what Sarah was just saying about if you choose the wrong path or whatever, you can just change your mind. So
yeah,
I'm gonna, there's loads of stuff I'm taking away from this.
Yeah, so here's a line for you to take away. You can always be messy and then just go clean it up. That's it. You just be
nothing is unfixable.
Back and clean it up. Karen did a course with me. It was messy. Little technology glitches and all that kind of stuff. But I was like, you know, we all learned along the way, and then we went back and fixed it. No big deal.
Well, this is the first time I've ever been on a Zoom meeting, and well,
you do great.
There was a glitch. Awesome. I lost you all for a bit, but I didn't have to ask for help, so that was from anyone here. I'm delighted about that.
Yeah, I just saw a message from Jadvika as well. I think that she's losing us in between. I'm not sure whether she hears us actually, but yeah, definitely praise to all of you that that are keeping and trying to figure technology out. So just to round off, because I see we are already a little bit over time. So I think important is to amplify this, and you know, we have a lot to take away from this, all of us, and I think that's good, but it's the way we can, you know, make it even bigger is realize or decide, you know what, I want to be awesome. I want to be great. I want to be really somebody that makes a difference for myself. That starts with these things, maybe not being always perfect, maybe showing up late, which I do sometimes for my German classes, and you know, being and deciding, okay, you know what, next year, 3, 5, 10, I'm really gonna reinvent myself. And I think I have a, vision board, and I have also for a couple things like a bottle board when I see what happening, but having a couple stickers around, and I have here one, just can show you, I don't know if you will see it, but it says I'm alive. And another one I have here, I'm grateful for being being alive. And I think these things, it starts with what I said, human potential is nearly limitless, but it starts with the foundation, with those little steps, day in, day out, going in and say, wake up, like Wayne Dyer used to do, wake up, put his feet on the ground, said, thank you, thank you, thank you, just being alive. And I think gratefulness is something, or gratitude itself is this state of mind that when it floods, when you're grateful, when you're thankful for anything in your life, it changes your chemistry from being feeling anxiety to being grateful and to feeling great. And we all love that, but also, it releases the burden of things in life, like I have to be perfect. Okay, well, I don't. Thank you. And just changing your language slowly, I think, can help. So a couple of things that I mentioned at the start, having values, it helps me so much. Here are a couple of things that I have, starting here on the top with excellence. This is my definition of perfection. I try my best each and every day. I have here under a sticker which says, 1% better every day. And that's my definition of perfection. It resonates when I improve. Obviously I do my job well, I show up the best I can, but in the end of the day, what matters for me, and should matter probably for all of you, is whether you're true to yourself. What people say about you, what people think about you doesn't matter, but what you think about yourself when you're alone, when you're by yourself, that's what matters the most. Those thoughts, those behaviors that, you say, I will get up at 6 and I will take, next 20 minutes for myself. Nothing can distract me. And you do it, you're true to that, you're true to that commitment, you get up with the alarm, whatever. And when you do it long enough, your body will get you there, because it's just this accumulated effort. Enthusiastic is, kind of important, I think, in life. For anything that we want to learn, we should be enthusiastic. We should bring the positivity. It's not just, saying there are no problems, there is no wheat. It's basically about acknowledging the problems, but facing them head on with, positivity and solution-oriented mindset. We know that from our corporate times. Having self-control has to do a lot with, I think, everything that we talk about, not in a bad way, but being on watch, on guard of the way I think, the way I behave, and just keeping it very simple. That's why I keep my morning journal and evening journal, and it takes me maybe, 5 minutes in total. I write, this is what my goal is, and in the end I evaluate how my day was. Did I feel about something? Was I clear about it? Did I elevate other people? And when you do this consistently, it can help to elevate you to a whole new dimension. Team spirit. This is what we are doing here today, just hearing Had and Sarah back and forth with Deb, exchanging ideas. I think this is what I truly believe in, and this is where greatest epiphanies and changes came in my life, not because I am the smartest person in the room, because there are other people that say, hey, you know what, I go through this. I also work long hours, but maybe, when you take time for myself and you switch off at 6, maybe nobody gonna point a finger, just do that. So making sure that we are, accepting being part of the team, good team, people with like-minded, mindset, people that have a good values. And then high performance goes together with excellence, making sure that you have a plan for yourself, that you have a plan for life, that you know where you're going, and try to show up each and every day. And I think the foundation, which could be here, the building relationship with people with similar mindset, could be here as a bottom, and everything else could be on it. I used to be a guy, honestly, that I accomplished a lot on my own, and I was really proud of that. I was dedicated, and I thought I don't need anybody. And I did that to a grade of my abilities. But at some point, when you go through life, it becomes very lonely, whether you're on a top, when you're leading a team, like Had was talking, if you want to lead, maybe you need to do more than other people. But in the end of the day, it's really way more fun when we have people that are with similar mindset, that have the similar values, and that say, you know what, I struggle, how we do it, how about we go together, we do it together, and we become better through time or over time. And I think building these relationships and being part of such a community is just amazing, elevated me. And this is also one of the reasons why I'm so happy to collaborate with Deb, because she brings, joy, she brings all this humanity about her. And it's just, something that you don't often see, because a lot of people try to hide and try to, be gimmicky and not really be authentic. And this is beautiful. And also I can, acknowledge all of you today and give you, definitely give yourself a big round of applause, sharing and being authentic and, spending time with us, because I think this is amazing for me as well, just hearing the stories. So I just want to round off quickly. I think Deb, I saw already dropped the link. We do this, on a monthly basis, this series of events. So June, July, August is going to be about progress versus perfection. We're going to get a little bit deeper next time, probably with Get Unstuck, a couple things about it, maybe some part of theory, maybe some part of exercise. So it's going to be July 10th. And whether you're in Canada, 10 a.m. and then 4 p.m. So definitely would love to invite you there. If you really resonated with this, feel free to invite friends as well. Maybe somebody like had said, maybe your daughter. I know it might be too much. I should invite my sister, for example, and other friends that I know, they definitely should hear this. So please, please do so.
Just gonna add to that. So really what we're gonna do is every second Saturday of every month, we're gonna do a workshop. So every second Saturday, we'll do a workshop.
That's right. That's
the first 3 will be Progress Not Perfection, but then every month going forward on the second Saturday, we'll do a workshop.
Yeah, and the reason being is we want to keep it consistent for you guys so that you can kind of get used to the schedule, and also having a quarterly theme rather than just jumping every month to a different thing gives you actually the perspective or the time to really kind of digest that and work through that maybe through a quarter and say, okay, well, you know what, this quarter I'm working on progress and I need to deal with perfection. And then we move after the quarter, we kind of, go through that, we summarize that, what were the lessons, and then we move towards the next quarter with another topics. So I think this gives you actually really time, and I see it with myself, and we know it from science. It takes maybe, 20 to even 90 days to learn and to actually cement a new habit into your life. 20 days definitely is good, but what I've seen 90 days and beyond, and I'm sure Deb can talk about it, from 3 decades of anxiety and stuff, you probably need a while to get, over that.
Yeah, I mean, everybody's different, but the most common is when I do private coaching programs, it's around 90 days. Some people have been 8, some people have been longer. But yeah.
One more thing that I forgot to, oh, you already did. Okay, so thank you, Deb. Deb already is one step ahead of me. Share the link for the Facebook group. So we have a private Facebook group for guys like you to share more stuff and maybe, drop some interesting stuff that we are reading, or maybe the podcast that I just mentioned from Dr. Joe Dispenza. So you can, go a little bit in your own time, a little deeper. So definitely invite you there. Ideally, you click on the link now, or Deb, are we sending it after as well in the email?
Yeah, right. You'll get an email after with the info and then to the next workshop. The link and Eventbrite's already set up for the next 2 workshops. So if you're interested in going, you can go jump in and register.
Yeah.
Is it on Meetup?
I'll go to Meetup. Yeah, it's right now in Eventbrite, but I'll go add them to Meetup too.
Right. So lastly, before we conclude, one thing that with Deb, we are, or Deb is joining me or joining us through this nice monthly events that we do together. But with FitFund, where I'm a co-founder, we have a huge mission to help 50 million people with, with their energy, longevity, health, and lifestyle. So definitely encourage you, when you have time, to check out the website. There you can find probably some more stuff also around, longevity, around anything that comes to maybe your mind. And even more relevant, I'm thinking about a podcast, which probably is not yet on the website, but happy to link that as well in the Facebook group, where Deb was talking, for example, about progress not perfection. I think that could be relevant for you guys. So with that said, I want to thank you very much for showing up today for yourself and for listening to our mind, not Deb's, my rumbling and mumbling, and making sure that you're making notes. It's again.
Can we do a takeaway? Can we just do a quick everybody's takeaway?
Good point.
So, what are you taking away today? What's an insight of learning?
Loads of notes.
Good job.
And I shall slowly read them and try and work out my writing. Well, it's sort of nice to know you're normal, really. Do you know what I mean? With all my flaws and everything, I'm normal. And I shouldn't be ashamed of them, really. Shouldn't be ashamed of anything, because I'm just normal, really. I tolerate a lot of other people. It's funny. I tolerate an awful lot. Even friends. Sometimes I really don't like them. But I keep my mouth shut. I don't say anything because I need them. Do you know what I mean? Even though a lot of the time I don't actually like them. I need to change my social group and sort of more people that are more like me than, do you know what I mean? I've got to stop looking up to people that really don't impress me much, to be honest. Do you know what I mean?
Cool. Very cool. Sarah, what about you?
I think my takeaway is the same with what Hat was saying too. I need to surround myself with more like-minded people, because I find that when I don't, my number one core thing that I need is to be authentic is gone. I need to be authentic. I need to be able to be honest with the people in my life in order to be authentic to who I am, because otherwise I'm spending so much time stuffing who I am down, that becomes my normal, and I don't want to do that anymore. I just won't do that anymore. If there's something in my life that has changed and I don't have the courage to tell them, I'm just going to do it. I did that this last week with something very huge. I grew up in a very fundamentalist religious family and circle and friends. This is the only people I knew, that's it. And I've let that go. And it was a huge fear for me to just be authentic with myself and say, this is who I am and I am okay. I don't need to be saved. I don't need my friends to be worrying about me or having vigils for me or anything like that. I am authentically fine. I'm good. I'm tired of striving for a perfection in an area that was never accepting me for who I am. So I'm just going to be exactly who I am and be honest.
That's
Brilliant.
a lesson I'm going to learn.
Yeah.
Cool. Very good. Karen? No, we've lost your audio for some reason. Oh,
Yeah, I think. Try again. I think now you're on mute.
Looks like mute.
Yeah, I think she's putting it in the chat now.
Okay.
I love the birds. Is that you, Mateo?
Yeah, sorry. It's
No, don't be sorry. It's ridiculous.
Munich is very, very interesting city because I always make fun about it because the animals, everything is protected, you know, a lot of trees, everything. And we have so many birds and so many animals, even the frogs. I saw a sign, watch out for frogs, they're crossing. I'm like, okay, great. But you know, you get this in 6 or 5 in the morning, the birds are screaming in front of your house, but it's like chatter all the time. So yeah, it's cool.
Very cool. Did it work, Karen?
I think not yet, huh?
Sorry, that's a drag that's not working. Are you typing what you wanted in the chat? Or do you want to just are you good? Did you learn something? Just give us a thumbs up if you learned something. Okay, awesome. That's great. And I'm not sure how to say your name, Jadvika,
Jadvika, I think.
Jadvika?
I'm not sure she hears us as well, because she wrote me in the middle of a conversation that she also struggles with that.
Okay. That's funny, yeah, in technology. But either way, we made it, guys. So thanks for being here. Hopefully we'll see you at the next one. And yeah, like Matteo said, bring your friends. If there's people you think that would benefit from this, love to have them come and join us. Matteo?
Yeah, 100%. And I mean, I just learned so much by listening to you guys as well. So it's very like-minded and nice community. So thanks for bringing, you know, your fears and sharing your stuff. And for you, Het, as well, I think it's not my place to talk about, but I think if you feel like you're very orderly, and maybe even your daughter might inherit something from you. And I've seen it in my family, because I know from my parents it happened, that the way I am, and maybe that's why I'm trying to be so different, or became so different, because I hated some things. And yeah, but it's probably good space to talk about stuff like this, because it, you know, without judgment and without pointing fingers, because I think that's the beauty of us, you know, trying to improve ourselves and say, hey, you know, this worked for me, maybe that could work for you too. So anyways, join the community, or join the next event if you have time, and the Facebook, and there we can, you know, talk further. All right, thank you very much.
Have a great weekend.
Thank you.
Thanks,
Bye-bye.
everyone.
Until the next time,
See you.
stay healthy.
Bye-bye.
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 Let me just remove. Okay. So what do you think? I'm going to just stop the recording now.